Member for Stikine.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. 6 years ago, the representative for Children and Youth said staff turnover in the Ministry of Children and Family Development, and I quote, was a barrier to high-quality service delivery. Today, 6 years later, in response to the BC Government and Service Employees Union report showing that unmanageable workloads and chronic understaffing is compromising the safety of children, the minister announces 70 frontline people already working are to be called new hires. That is her response to address staff shortages, Honourable Speaker. In what world, Minister, can you count 70 people already working as adding new positions? When will this government actually take improving service delivery to vulnerable children seriously?
Minister of Children and Family Development.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And it came as no surprise to me that the BCGEU released a report suggesting that social workers were having challenges meeting their obligations on the front lines serving children and youth. I've been speaking with social workers since I became minister, Madam Speaker, and I directed that staff look into what were the challenges that our workers were facing on the front lines, where were they, and what was the best means by which to address them. I am very pleased that today we did announce we will be hiring an additional 200 frontline child welfare workers over the next year. In addition, we're going to redesign a number of system procedures and processes that have not been changed in many, many years, despite significant changes in how we actually do business, Madam Speaker. That will free up social workers' time so they can do what they are highly trained and very, very competent at doing, and that's the frontline social work, Madam Speaker. I'm extremely pleased that we are able to announce this today, Madam Speaker, and I look forward to the outcomes.
Member for Stikine on a supplemental.
Yes, well, I'm glad it came as no surprise. The representative pointed out 6 years ago to this government what the problems were. The minister's on record as saying there's no new dollars to support any of these supposed new hires. The government response to concerns 6 years ago from the representative for Children and Youth and to this devastating report today is to announce yet another business function redesign in this ministry. That in the past, as we know, has been a code word for service cuts to front desk service hours, for example, so vital, especially in remote and northern communities. Cutting services, no additional new staff, no new dollars. That is not a way, Minister, to provide the services that are desperately needed for children and families. These children don't need any more empty promises. How can the Minister follow through on her announcement when there's not a penny of funding or the leadership to support it?
Minister for Children and Family Development.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And the member opposite was in the detailed technical briefing that I held this morning, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, he obviously doesn't understand any of the work that social workers actually do in this province, because the redesign of services that we're talking about is about taking data entry work, talking about transactional services, and talking about freeing up in small offices time spent on the phone with on intake, Madam Speaker, which we do very, very well through our after-hours services in a very professional way, Madam Speaker, so that frontline social workers can do the work that they are highly trained to do with families and children. And, Madam Speaker, in addition, recognizing that even with those service redesign opportunities, the opportunity to change procedures across the ministry to free up that time for social workers, much of which has come at their request, Madam Speaker, the reality is we are hiring an additional 200 full-time permanent staff in child welfare to make sure that our frontline staff have the resources they need to do the job.
River, Sunshine Coast.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, I wasn't at the technical briefing this morning, but I'd say I understand what social workers have to put up with when they are understaffed and where there's no one to fill in when they're on a break or on a holiday or sick. And this is a hugely important issue for the children of this province. The government seems to know what to say when they're faced with another report condemning their history in this ministry. But as soon as the photo ops end and the reaction ends, we get nothing. So what's going to make it different this time? What's going to actually change? Not just the words, promising. We've heard these promises before. What's going to actually change to make the lives of the children who are vulnerable in this province and the social workers who are trying to do their best, what's going to make it better for them?
Minister for Children and Family Development.
Madam Speaker, only the NDP can make the hiring of 200 additional frontline staff not action. Madam Speaker, I appreciate the member opposite was not at the technical briefing, and I'd be happy to provide him with one so he can fully understand the depth of the information, the depth of the work that went into planning for these changes, Madam Speaker, and, in fact, what will be different after the fact, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have never made these promises before. This is new. I have done, with my staff, extensive work into determining where and what is needed. I have advocated for those changes, Madam Speaker, and we are making them today.
Recognizing Powell River, Sunshine Coast on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I hope the Minister forgives me for being sceptical, and I hope she forgives the province for being sceptical, because we've heard this all before. This is a situation where there's no new money. There's no new money. So how is it going to be? How is it going to be that the Minister can actually say with a straight face that this is going to actually improve things for the children of this province? I don't think that the people of this province are going to buy that. We've seen transformational change. We've seen child at the centre. We've seen $66 million identified by the representative as going to absolutely no change in the province. And now we're being promised more transitional change that means absolutely nothing to the social workers or the children of the province. So how is the Minister going to... My suspicion is that this is just words to cover up something that they apparently weren't surprised to hear. How can it be that this government waits for a damning report to say that they're going to do something different? When are they going to actually do something different?
Minister of Children and Family Development.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And if the member opposite thinks that we made a decision to hire 200 staff and change a number of policies, procedures within the ministry over the next year and a half after last night's report was released, then he doesn't understand ministry business at all. Madam Speaker, the reality is that this work has been underway for a great deal of time. When I first took over this ministry 2 years ago, I started hearing from social workers about the challenges that they were facing. We have had representative reports also outlining these challenges. I've had conversations with the representative about these. But, Madam Speaker, we are not going to make significant changes to the Ministry of Children and Family Development's service delivery, to our staffing regime, or anything else without thorough investigation of what is actually required and where and how, and to make sure that we know it will be effective when it's implemented. Madam Speaker, we are sure of that with this release today of an announcement that we are going to add those 200 new frontline workers, Madam Speaker, and I am confident that we will be able to do that and meet all of the mandate of this ministry.
Thank you. Recognizing the member for Nelson Creston.
Here's the bottom line, Madam Speaker. The minister made a promise. I was there. It sounded good. It's what we all wanted to hear. But there's no new money, Madam Speaker. And the fact that the minister admitted that there is no new money going to fix these problems makes it feel a lot like Groundhog Day. And kids aren't going to get the supports that they so desperately need. Report after report after report has showed this government just that, and yet no new money, but a promise of 200 workers. So the question is, what's going to get cut to fill those positions?
Yeah.
Minister for Children and Families.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in a caseload-driven ministry like the Ministry of Children and Families, the reality that resources will always be a challenge. The other reality, Madam Speaker, is that this ministry has seen budget lifts over the last couple of years and will continue, or is scheduled to continue to see that. Madam Speaker, it is not budget day, but what it is my job to ensure that what is the priority in our ministry gets addressed. This is a priority to me, Madam Speaker. I am making the commitment to address it and to do that within budget.